in thinking about this talk, I wanted to, I see a lot of people begin to embrace and really act on the concept of the Jews in the land of Israel again. In the mid 1700s is when a big part of it started, and I wanted to understand where the origins are. And it seems that the origins of it are actually back with Luther translating the Bible into the vernacular. Well, Luther translated it into German, and Tyndale into English, and different people translated the Bible into a language that people could understand. And as people began to read the Bible, and they believed in sola scriptura, that the Bible was inspired by God, they really coalesced around the idea that the Bible said that Israel would exist again, that the Jews would be back in the land of Israel. And so you see the Christian Zionism, especially in England. And in England, it was really the farther, what you would call farthest out there, the Puritans and, groups like that really embraced it and carried it forward. And this chat, I'm going to talk about some of the early Christian Zionists that made a huge difference, two in particular, that made a big difference from England. And one is William Wilberforce, who's an interesting guy, had a dramatic conversion experience. He lived 1759 to 1833, and he was a member of Parliament. He was a upper class gentleman closely associated with Prime Minister Pitt, and he's best known for his advocating for the abolition of slavery. He spent his whole life fighting against the African slave trade in the British Empire, and at the end of his life succeeded in doing away with that. But he's less known for his Zionist activities, but he was part of a group of people and on the board of directors of an organization that did practical activities towards their belief that Jews would be in the land of Israel again. It would exist as a nation again. And they built schools and hospitals, and they actively invested in the preparation of the Jewish people being back in the land. And so that was end of the 1700s, beginning of the 1800s. And the next guy to come along and make a huge difference from a Christian Zionist standpoint is a guy named Lawrence Oliphant. And what a character this guy was. He was a writer and a traveler and a mystic, a member of Parliament. And he comes up with this idea. It's called the Plan of Gilead, and he had experience in diplomatic and political circles, and he wrote, although his activities were driven by his belief that the Bible said the Jews would live in Israel again, Israel would exist again, he wrote a document that was strictly political and advocated for secular reasons that it should exist again. And that the Plan of Gilead was simply let's develop an agricultural colony for the Jewish people up in Galilee, in the northern part of Israel, and let's buy that land from the Ottoman Empire, which is collapsing. Nobody was really up there. It was kind of a desolate place. The Ottoman Empire needed money and was losing control of these periphery areas. It was kind of collapsing, and so why don't we just buy it from them and make an agricultural colony for the Jewish immigrants? And although he wrote the Plan of Gilead in 1878, and there had been some programs, but the worst were yet to come in 1881 and moving forward. And that pressure of the Jews in the Russian Empire who were being murdered and their properties taken and destroyed and synagogues destroyed, and they needed a place to go, so it put a lot of pressure on this plan. And so the British government got behind the plan, and Oliphant went to the emperor with the British government's blessing to discuss buying the land from the Ottoman Empire's Sultan, Turkish Sultan, and he did not grant permission. He did not allow, would not sell them the land. And one of Oliphant's people who were in the meetings with the sultans wrote later that he believed that the reason that the Sultan would not give permission was because Oliphant's arguments, when he was passionately talking about it, he had several of his arguments involved helping the Jews return to Israel so that Jesus could come, which of course the Muslim Ottoman Empire Sultan didn't really, that wasn't one of the things he was hoping for. So he did not agree to let them go. But during that time, Oliphant spent a lot of time with the Jewish communities in Romania and Eastern Europe, and a lot of that Roman Empire communities of Jews, they were going to the United States, and he kept saying, wait, we're going to get this worked out, and you can go to Israel. And he did not succeed in getting a mass immigration plan, but he was greatly revered. So during that time, if you went in a Jewish home in Romania, you might more than likely would find a picture of Lawrence Oliphant on the wall.